Hi everybody, I'm Miriam, and this is another edition of Not Oprah's Book Club. I'm still stepping in for Courtney because she's on vacation for a month, or working on her book actually for a month in Italy. So I'm taking this opportunity to talk about another book I just read that's actually not new. It came out a few years ago, but I wanted to talk about it anyway. And the book is Animal Vegetable Miracle by Barbara Kingsolver, and the subtitle is A Year of Food Life. I've been getting kind of into food politics lately, partially after watching the documentary Food Inc., which I talked about. I wrote about a couple of weeks ago, but I'd read The Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan, which is another book about food politics, and it's something that I've been increasingly paying a lot more attention to lately. I think one of the things I like about the topic, and the reason I think it's a feminist issue, is because it brings together it's kind of at the crux of a lot of different issues that we're dealing with now, having to do with the environment and globalization and climate change, industrial food systems and how that affects the economies in the U.S. and abroad, and also political things like poverty, health, and immigration are all really brought together by this particular issue, and it's something I'm thinking a lot about. So this was a really interesting book to read because what Barbara does, and you might know her because she's written the Poisonwood Bible and a couple other novels. She's a pretty famous writer. What Barbara and her family do is that they spend a year eating pretty much entirely locally and seasonally. So things that are grown in her community. Actually, a lot of it's grown on her actual farm. They basically plant a really huge garden for themselves on a farm that they live on that doesn't produce, anything for money, but just they garden there. It has an orchard, and they start raising chickens and turkeys and other animals to have eggs, but also to eat meat. So they spend a year eating locally, and this is the story of their time doing that. Barbara kind of writes the narrative of the book, and then her husband writes little sort of sidebars that are more political and connect to some of the bigger issues that, like the documentary Food Inc. talks about with industrial food systems. And then her daughter, who's like 18, about to go off to college, writes some little vignettes also about her experiences, and then recipes from their family about things that they ate. So I really enjoyed the book, and the reason I think I liked it, well, it's less about the food politics, which I think I've gotten a lot of. It delves more into kind of the day-to-day agricultural lessons that we don't learn anymore, whereas 50 years ago, many more of us would have known because many more of us would have grown up on farms or as part of farming families and been much more connected to the food we eat. And now most of us don't grow up on farms and have very little knowledge of how vegetables are grown. One of the things I really, really liked about this book was learning what seasons mean. What vegetables and what fruits are seasonal. They're in Virginia, which is not too far from where I live in Washington, D.C., so the seasons really match. So understanding why certain things are at the farmer's market certain days, I really grew up having no idea when I was eating things in season or out of season. And I think what Barbara brings home, which a lot of nutritionists and other people who write about food politics have made us understand, is that eating fruits and vegetables seasonally means you're going to get the best nutrients from those fruits and vegetables. They're just going to be the freshest. They're going to taste better because they're not ripened in trucks, because they don't have to be brought many, many miles, which has effects on the environment and all sorts of economic issues. But just the bottom line is that they're going to taste better. That a mealy white tomato that you might get in a grocery store in December is that way because it ripened on a truck or on a plane when it got shipped from somewhere around the world where tomatoes are in season there. So that's what I really liked about the book, is learning about seasons and when things are fresh. And also, not all of us can live on a farm or spend the amount of time and energy that her family spends gardening and really harvesting the food that feeds their family. But a lot of us can do things like shop in farmers markets and be more attentive to buying things that are seasonal and that are made closer to home. And so that's part of what I learned. Also learning tips about, preserving food that is plentiful in the summer so that you can have it to eat in the winter. Things like making your own tomato sauce or canning vegetables or freezing fresh fruits and vegetables to eat during the year. So I really liked the book. I totally highly recommend it, and I definitely plan on reading and writing more about food politics and feminist things. So I'm looking forward to being in conversation with all of you about that.